This is Anchor Your Retirement with Barb Gulin from Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Barb Gulin provides her clients and prospects the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful strategies to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now here is Anchor Your Retirement with Barb Gulin.
Welcome to the Anchor Your Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Barb Gulin, and hanging out with me today is Tony Shore. How you doing, Tony?
Well, I am doing great, Barbara. I had a great week. This past weekend, I went down and we had a party for my parents. It's their 60th wedding anniversary this past
Oh my gosh,
week.
how was that?
60 years. It was great. Now, my dad said he told everyone 60 years of marriage, 10 years of marital bliss is what he said. And they asked my mom, how do you stay married? How do you guys stay happily married for 60 years? And my mom's response, he was gone a lot. So even with Parkinson's and Lewy bodies that she's going through, she's in a home. My dad's he's lost a few steps. He just turned 80, but they still have their wit and sense of humor. So that's
is
good.
Fantastic. You know, my maternal grandparents, my grandfather used to travel a lot, and I'm convinced that's how they made it to the number of years that they did.
Well, my mom was only half kidding because they do love each other and they really enjoyed doing things together, but they both work full-time jobs, and my dad was an over-the-road truck driver, so he'd be gone a couple weeks at a time. And my mom always said, absence makes the heart grow fonder, that old saying. So that worked out. I think it did have something it honestly contributes to it, but it's just great. My mom just deadpan. He was gone a lot. Oh, she had to get him back for that 10 years of marital bliss comment.
Yes, turnabout's fair play.
Yeah, they're very quick-witted, so that's good.
And amazing at 80 that they're still that sharp.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you, but we've had our first little kiss of fall weather down here this week.
Yeah.
Yep. I was out walking this morning and kind of thinking that shorts and a T-shirt might not cut it that much longer.
I don't think it's going to cut it. Yeah. We've already had weather like that where it's just like, okay, I actually have to start digging out long sleeve shirts and sweatshirts.
And the leggings and all the things to stay a little bit warmer. I also got out for my walk a little bit later than I normally do today and ended up getting behind schedule, which really, really rattles me. But we're back on track now.
I know you're very organized and like to stay on schedule. So
I'm a bit uptight about those things.
Yeah.
Let's call a spade a spade.
That's good. That's good. Well, what are we talking about on the show today? What do you have for our listeners out there, Barbara?
We're going to talk today about managed money and how it can round out your portfolio. You know, we've talked about the safer money vehicles that we have in older podcasts. You can go back and listen to them and find out about annuities, find out about indexed universal life, find out about those green money things. What we're going to talk about today is that yellow money. One of the things I try not to incorporate too much into my clients' portfolios and their financial plans is something I call red money. And that's money that's in the market that you're just kind of watching what it's doing, but not really actively managing it or minding the store. It's like putting money in a mutual fund. The fund manager is controlled by the prospectus with how he can invest, when he can rebalance and all that kind of stuff. Or she, I am going to be multi-purposed here.
Sure.
As opposed to managed money, where there's somebody minding the store and watching what's going on a day in, day out basis and making those course corrections, not to make a nautical pun, but I'm going to make a nautical pun, along the way to try to work in the client's best interest.
Okay. Well, let's back up. And Barbara, for our listeners, what do you mean by managed money? What is managed money? Obviously, you're talking about money that is at risk in the stock market, but yet is actively managed. Define that for us.
Right. This is money that is invested in the stock market in some way, shape, or form. My preference is that it be in either pure stock, so that we know what company we're investing in, or in something called an exchange traded fund, which is a group of stocks that are of a similar composition. Okay.
Okay.
So
sure.
It might be all tech stocks, or it might be a group of stocks that supports agriculture, or it might be all food stocks, or stocks that are in a certain economic sector, something like the S&P 500. Okay.
Okay.
The difference between an exchange traded fund and a mutual fund is that exchange traded funds, and I'm going to call them ETFs going forward so that I don't have to spit that out every time. They're traded live during the trading day on the market. Mutual funds don't trade until the end of the day, when all of the prices of the underlying stocks settle for the day. So an ETF is something that you can get into and out of throughout the day. A mutual fund, if you call in and tell your broker that you want to sell a certain dollar amount or a number of shares of a mutual fund, that trade doesn't settle out until trading closes for the day on the stock market. And then that is executed. Okay. So
yeah, that's good to know the difference.
Yeah, hopefully that's clear. If it's not clear, then somebody needs to reach out, either by going to our website, anchoryourretirement.com, and filling out the contact us form, or giving us a call at 913-553-6222. Set up a consultation with us. It's complimentary, and we'll help you understand the differences and help. If you don't understand where your money is invested in your portfolio, we'll lay all of that out for you and show you the good, the bad, the ugly about everything.
Sure. Okay. Well, and I think that's very important, and it's good to understand that. And our listeners, anytime, I know you love to hear from the listeners. So if they do have questions about anything we talk about, they can pick up the phone and talk to you about it, or set up a consultation. And there's no charge, and there's no obligation for that consultation.
No, I mean, financial smarts, happy hearts. I think everybody's entitled to education and understanding how what they're invested in works.
Right. Exactly. So let's talk more about the importance of managed money and get into what's the difference if I just, if I have money in the stock market, I have money through my 401k, the money is in my 401k. Do you count that as managed money, or is that just in the stock market? And, how much control do I have over that? You're really talking about somebody who works with an independent investment firm where they're actively every day looking at it, right?
Right. Your 401k, I would have a hard time calling that actively managed.
Yeah.
Although there are some financial services companies out there that work with 401ks to quote unquote manage.
Yes.
What's going on in the account. The 401k is still restricted by the plan document, what mutual funds or what options for investment are available.
Right.
And for some of the larger companies out there that I'm not going to name, because I don't want to get in trouble or pay anybody a royalty. It's the truth. A lot of times with their 401k, even before I became an investment advisor, when I was in the corporate world, my 401k, I had my fund choices for where I could put my investment options, but my company's match was all going to be in that company's stock.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't have a choice in that.
Right.
And, that's where you start getting into something called single security risk, which is another topic for another time. But that, Cliff Notes version, that's where you get overweighted in your portfolio in one specific stock where,
Which is not good.
No, let's think back 20 years ago to the people that invested in Enron.
And Kodak and Sears.
All of the above.
And even General Electric. Kodak and Sears don't exist anymore, but at one time,
right,
Kodak had some of the best stock in the country, but it eventually just went away, right?
Yeah, and note to self, it will always be Sears Tower. I kind of choke a little if I have to say Willis Tower.
Oh, yeah, Sears Tower. Of course it's Sears Tower. I'm the same way. It'll always be Sears Tower. I don't. Right. They shouldn't be allowed to change the names of classic historic buildings. That's crazy.
No.
But I hear what you're saying, because my first couple of 401ks, Barbara, at the first few companies I worked for, I'm going to say the first 3 or 4, major jobs I had when I first started doing 401ks, it was just like, do you want higher risk, medium risk, or low risk? I literally, a couple of them just had 3 choices. I checked one box.
Yeah, so that's not active management.
Right. That's not actively managed. And most 401ks, I don't believe are. You're paying a fee for them to quote unquote manage the funds, but it's not actively managed. Like, I know you work a lot with Gradient Investments. I have a person, you can pick up the phone and talk to the president and their portfolio managers. And it's one of the fastest growing investment firms out there because, they went from pretty small to now they manage over $5 billion in assets. They are
wonderful relationship.
Yeah, they have a huge staff that every day is actively managing those accounts. And so I think that's great. And the fact that you can pick up the phone and get them on the phone if a client has a question at any time, you can't do that with the big box companies. You're not going to be able to talk to the portfolio manager and I'm not going to name the company, but you see these big ads on TV for these major companies that are selling their individual products, whether it's an insurance product or an investment product, and it's in their funds, and it's not active. You can't get a direct line to that portfolio manager.
No. And, that is the beauty of what the relationship we have with Gradient Investments. When the precursor to the firm we have now first joined Gradient Investments, they were measuring their production in the millions. And like you said, they're now over $5 billion in investments under management. So we have really gotten to have a front row seat in watching this company grow and watching what they've done for our clients. Yeah. And to be able to pick up the phone and reach out directly to a portfolio manager and have them know who I am is, you can't. That kind of relationship is very uncommon in this industry.
It really is.
And is something that I value. You know, it's been wonderful because, many of our clients are federal employees.
Yes.
And certain employees in certain positions, for ethics reasons, aren't allowed to invest in a certain family of stocks, be it healthcare or aviation or something specific like that. Sure. And because Gradient actively manages their portfolios, we can customize those portfolios to meet those exemption requirements for my clients.
That's interesting. Yeah. I wasn't aware of that aspect.
Try calling a mutual fund and say, I'd like to buy your fund, but I can't have any healthcare stock. And they'd be like, well, then pick another fund.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So, well, I think that's amazing. And that's another great point about actively managed funds. And this is such an important topic, and people don't understand. You're paying fees anyway. People don't realize there are fees within your 401k that you are paying. And most people don't even realize that.
You absolutely are. And so, another thing to remember is to go to the other side of the pendulum. And invariably, I run into somebody who says, I don't want to have any risk in my portfolio. And those are the ones that want me to try to structure something that's all green money. And what I tell those clients is you're going to have risk one way or the other.
Yes.
We're either going to have risk of principal fluctuating, going up and down with the market, or we are going to run into something called interest rate risk, where the growth in your account isn't keeping up with or outpacing inflation. And everybody's had a taste of that the last couple of years.
Yeah, 2022 to be exact.
Let's look at what our paychecks have not done in reference to what's been going on with inflation. And even though it's cooling off and getting a little bit better, we're still not leveled out.
Yeah.
We're still not at that status quo. So, here's the thing I want everybody listening to this podcast to understand is you are always taking some level of risk. The question is how we manage that risk for you to keep you in line with your investment goals.
Yeah. There you go. That's huge. And I know a lot of people do. They say, I want all my money in the market because I want to earn as much. I want as much growth as possible. Or the opposite, like you said, they want all their money in safety. They don't want to risk any principal, but they want to make money for retirement. They want to earn money. And you have to have a balance, right? You're talking about a balance, and that's actively managing money right there is to make sure there's a balance. It's the oldest adage in the book, and people groan when you say it now because we've all heard it so many times, but you can't put all your eggs in one basket.
No. And, nobody has a crystal ball. Gradient Investments doesn't have a crystal ball, or if they do, it has a big old crack in it like mine does. None of us can predict what's going to happen. Heck, if we could have predicted what 2022 was going to look like, we all would have structured things differently because 2022 was a kick in the pants to people who have all of their money in green money and to everybody that was like, baby, let's put it all in the market and let's go.
Yeah.
Because unless you were in a very, very narrow corridor, your account declined in value last year.
Yeah, everything lost money last year from energy to bonds and stocks. It was all down. It's just a matter of how down. The actively managed accounts, like a lot of them at Gradient Investments, they're down in 2022 as everything was, but were they down as much as the overall market or the S&P 500? That's what you got to look at. You got to look at, hey, did you lose 20% or did you lose 10%? In a down year, you're going to have down years. But you want to make sure you're maximizing the growth and you have enough in safety where they don't affect you as much. But you have to have growth. And especially a lot of this comes down to time horizon, too, when we talk about investments.
It does. And for a lot of people, very few people have time to sit there and have 4 monitors where they're watching all of their different investments throughout the day.
Yeah.
I, for one, would rather have somebody who has years of experience, who saw what happened in 2001, 2000, 2001, 2002, who went through the housing bubble in 08 and 09, and who really saw the blip on the radar in 2020 and understood the fundamentals of what was going on. I would rather have them actively minding the store and watching what's going on than throwing a dart at a board that's got a bunch of stuff listed on it and going, oh, I think I'll invest in that today.
Yeah.
For somebody with experience takes the emotion out of what's going on and they understand the cycle of the market and you're riding the wave rather than fighting it.
Yeah.
And understanding that, ups and downs are just a normal part of our business cycle. The S&P 500 is up somewhere like around 74%. I can't remember the exact number right off the top of my head, but that tells us roughly 3 years out of 4, we're going to have good years. Yep. That 4th year is either going to be flat or backward.
Yep.
And in the good years, it doesn't mean that we're not going to have pullbacks in the middle of the good year.
Right.
And if you've got somebody who's paying attention to what's going on, we're riding the wave a little bit better, and we are you might not get the highest highs that other people are getting, but more importantly, you're not bottoming out and getting the lowest lows.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's not how much money, it's how much you can keep.
Right.
Right?
How many times have we talked about that?
Yeah. That's so important. So actively managed money is huge. And I like the color analogy you use. There's green money, which is where your principal is protected. And so you don't have any principal loss. And then there's yellow money, which is what we're talking about today, and that's actively managed. And then there's red money that's in the market, and you can lose it all tomorrow, or you can gain the world tomorrow, but you don't know. So there's a lot of risk.
Just ask anybody who bought Bitcoin at 60,000.
Oh, oof. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're not going to talk about Bitcoin because that's not a legitimate investment at this point, at least yet. So maybe someday, but no.
But there are people that saw that wave and that decided that everything needed to be in it. And that, depending on when they got in, might have some regrets.
Yeah, I think many of them do. And by the time you hear about something, it's usually too late.
Right.
The average American out there, by the time they heard, hey, Bitcoin's this thing, and by the time they had confidence enough in it to invest in it, it was too late. Only a few of the initial people, and even a lot of them who made all that money lost it because of the problems and the illegitimacy of the format. So, hopefully that'll work itself out, but the jury's out. But you're right. A lot of people, that's those risky endeavors, those risky investments. You got to watch it. And there are plenty of really risky investments out there that can tempt certain people, aren't there?
There are. Greed is a powerful motivator.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that if you're going into something uninformed and uneducated, you are at the mercy of the person who understands more than you do.
Yeah.
And if you're going into something like that isn't regulated, you're literally better off going to Vegas in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Where the house almost always wins. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, I understand the allure and the intrigue. Okay. I may or may not have family members that I may or may not have given birth to. That.
Hopefully,
Well, yeah, I was there. I was there. Or maybe people they're married to. That, really thought that some of those coins out there were going to be the answer to a lot of problems. And as it turns out, it wasn't. You ride the wave. That's why working with somebody who understands what's going on, who understands, who is a fiduciary, who really looks at everything holistically and has your best interests at heart, is better than, you might as well throw a dart at a dartboard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
True.
Pick an investment that way. It's one thing to take a road trip and put a map up on the board and have that figure out where you're headed. It's a whole other thing to put your financial future in that kind of scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, it's like Marge Simpson always says,
well, I just think we should be building a nest egg.
Yeah, and protecting it, right?
You have been waiting for that soundbite, haven't you?
I have. My finger's been itching to press that button the entire show. So, well, on that note, Barbara, why don't we let our listeners know before we go today how they can get a hold of you and set up that complimentary consultation. There's no charge. There's no obligation. Really, you need to work with a financial advisor who's going to look out for your best interest to get a plan in place, right?
Yes. Like I said, you can go to our website, anchoryourretirement.com. Okay. That's anchoryourretirement.com. Or you can call our office at area code 913-553-6222. 888-888-2222 and select the option for appointments and scheduling, and a member of our team will connect with you. If they're on the line with somebody else, leave a message and they will get back to you promptly. But more often than not, they're going to answer the call, get you on the calendar, come in, see us in the office, connect with us on Zoom. We will work with you and help you figure out what makes the most sense for balancing your portfolio, understanding what your risk is, helping you understand where you are. You're telling me where you need to be. It's our job to work together to figure out the map on how to get there.
There you go. Well, thank you, Barbara. Great show today on managed money, helping us understand what that is and why it's important to each and every one of us, especially with our retirement savings. But listeners, that does it for today's episode of Anchor Your Retirement with our host, Barbara Gulin.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to Anchor Your Retirement. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound retirement plan. For more information, please contact Barb Gulin at Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group. Call 913-553-6222 or visit them online at anchoryourretirement.com.
Advisory services are offered through Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Kansas. All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.